It's going to be Unknown and Ironed again. And start things out with.
On the Doomfist as well, unsurprisingly. Again, you know, you got to feel like that's a lot of the reason to play Ironed on Hanamura.
Early scouting there as well, you can see from Unknown, just going to allow New Paradigm to set this up. Look at Iron's positioning. Nice, fine.
Excellent. And then immediately finds CQB as well with the Rocket Punch. That is exactly what you want out of a Doomfist there.
And this is about the position now where for Iron and New Paradigm, they can start snowballing a few things. Perfect actually went down so quick. He's only on 9% ultimate now, 10. A Ting swaps onto the Winston as well. It's going to be a Super McCree comp, and this is exactly to counter on Iron to the Doomfist. You want the double stuns, the shield bash, and the flashbang. Take down Iron, and then play the 6v5.
Now, just kind of set up as they are on this defense, New Paradigm. It's kind of on Hong Kong attitude to answer the Doomfist, especially. Iron does go in for Mango Jive, doesn't quite find him this time. They don't quite catch them on the rotation. Unknown's in a bit of trouble here, actually.
And this actually means now for Hong Kong attitude, they get to freely rotate around the map until they get to the point. And for New Paradigm, they have to just sort of relocate themselves as well, waiting for their ultimates to come up, kneeling Meteor Strike, kneeling EMP.
New Paradigm have stopped Hong Kong attitude from getting any cap on the point until now. And immediately as Teto steps on, he loses his mech. Unknown was trying to find an angle in for an EMP, but I feel like New Paradigm tried to get a little bit too clever there, trying to set up for some kind of wraparound. Nice headshot from Perfect to close that one out. And Hong Kong attitude will get the cap.
And this is where Hong Kong attitude just didn't waste any time. They knew they were behind. They knew for New Paradigm they had ults coming up, so if they waited too long, EMP was going to be a factor. EMP did come up, but not before Hong Kong attitude actually secured the cap, actually capped out, now pushing on to B.
They've got Perfect just ready to set up on this high ground. That's the EMP commit and very quick follow-up. That's very much to be expected there, but still low economy win for Paradigm.
Yep, certainly, and now Ref's going to get his Transcendence as well.
Hello.
Iron probably going to be looking towards that self-destructive for Hong Kong attitude. As long as we can get the respawns and reset completely, there's still ultimates available. Mango Jai's going to have his own Transcendence. Probably going to be looking at a Sound Barrel from CQB as well. So for Hong Kong attitude now, the bonuses, they're not playing against EMP. So this is where they need to make their progression really count, because after this fight, Unknown is probably going to have another EMP.
That being said, they are still playing against Transcendence, and I mean, I'm not going to list
Deadeye doesn't care about Transcendence, that's one thing.
You're quite right about that, and that is something that Hong Kong attitude need to lean on, but they do need to be careful where they position during that Deadeye thanks to Meteor Strike.
Which is definitely going to be a factor, and you still have Brigitte on your team. Silent needs to play prediction duty.
Mango Jive pops that Transcendence as they see Iron go in. Now he pops out the Meteor Strike. He's kind of looking for Perfect or maybe a support. Perfect nearly goes down and that one gets healed up, and Iron is actually the one who has to turn tail and run as Foss gets fixed. Now they channel the Deadeye. Everyone just has to run for the hills. It's an interesting stuff. Ref pokes out his shiny little head there and he gets picked out for it. Iron as well gets isolated. They did manage to close out an Unknown. They didn't stop Teto from getting back in the mech as well. Basically everything just kind of going right for Hong Kong attitude here.
They're going to get a lot of progress here. 2 ticks is already enough.
Ref coming in with this Transcendence does buy time, but not for long because Teto's already out of the mech. They're still not going to bring a full 6 to bear.
Nice.
Perfect finished off Ref and Teto as well. Decent EMP, but where's the follow-up? Unknown's already dead. It's just Dine on the Wrecking Ball stalling out. Now Baxter alone, and they're going to be going into this time bank with more than 4 minutes.
And that was such a sick push as well. You can see from New Paradigm, they were going to get that EMP. In fact, the EMP did come out, and straight away Unknown gets chopped. And that is just absolutely perfect execution. The Deadeye onto Ref, massive kill. You wanted to see the Transcendence from Ref, and that would have been a Transcendence that maybe holds the point. There was a Primal Rage as well, just not lining up everything together. They didn't have their ducks in a row, and for New Paradigm, people had to come out one by one. You had Frost coming through with the Wrecking Ball, instantly gets destroyed. Rev has to solo Transcendence, and then there's also the Nano Boost onto somebody. Nothing's really connecting as it should. And for Hong Kong attitude, 6 members sitting there collecting kills as New Paradigm try to trickle out.
And that's the reality with the Super McCree. As much as the Doomfist, if it can catch the McCree, puts a lot of pressure on him. It's not like this flat one counters the other situation. Both have their strengths and weaknesses at dealing with the other, but the reality is, once you're in that situation where you can't bring the full force to bear, it becomes almost too difficult to have the coordination to get onto the McCree to actually shut it down. And that was reflected in Perfect just kind of having free reign on the point.
And by the way, that was a big commit out of Hong Kong Attitude. So if they don't win that push, then they go into the next one, and there's EMP available for Unknown. This 4-minute 24 time bank is likely to be something like 1 minute. They potentially don't even get realistically a good time bank at all, if they even cap. So the difference between winning that push and not winning that push is potentially the difference between winning this map and not winning this map.
There's still a lot of time bank when you consider that on both point A and point B, they technically lost a fight first before they had their successful one. They've just been so quick on the reset, and when they've won, it's been very commanding.
It has been. A new paradigm now, looking to try and match the same kind of result there that Hong Kong Attitude got, but it's going to be difficult. We're going to see the Winston Goat versus Vincent Goat mirror.
Perfect leading in the Graviton Surge charge. That could be a linchpin for this defense, but without getting picked, they don't need to rely on that ultimate necessarily. In fact, just straight out fragging here. Hong Kong Attitude, very nice defense.
And the fear that you have to have here as New Paradigm is you've got to remember what happened on the Gardens Lijiang Tower. It was Winston Goat's mirror versus Winston Goat's, and you lost that one very heavily. And Hong Kong Attitude reminding you of what exactly happened there. Full team wipe. New Paradigm now going to swap Frost onto a Rhine. What that's going to do is once the Earth Shatter comes into play, he's going to have an advantage over a team. But for now, Hong Kong Attitude have a lot more ult charge than New Paradigm.
This is how they can maybe just disrupt that old economy machine later on down the line, because for now, Hong Kong Attitude off to a good start. They trade 1-for-1. Frost gets picked. Unknown as well gets closed out on. So Hong Kong Attitude still kind of steering safe through this next defense here. But New Paradigm, like we said, they've set themselves up for a future win condition.
And no matter what happens here, you do have to consider right now for Hong Kong Attitude, they're not going to get snowballed here. There shouldn't be a double cap from New Paradigm from A to B, because even if Hong Kong Attitude lose, they're in a sort of position where they can still get defensive ultimates for B. So in a good place defensively now.
Big grab, self-destruct just laid in on top of it. Frost is already dead, which means no one can block it. That is a very quick gong.
6 kills to 0. And even the taxi there we saw earlier from CQB's POV, just to get a team back into the fight in time. Just in case something goes wrong there from New Paradigm, still looking for win conditions, waiting on Grav, waiting for Earth Shatter, waiting on anything at this stage. And Hong Kong Attitude, still a couple of options, but soon, once the Shatter comes out, that's got to be the big swing factor for New Paradigm.
No one dying in the rotation for New Paradigm, now looking to set themselves up around the top side.
It's already an improvement.
So far, just looking to move through to the point, nice and methodically.
Double support ults available from New Paradigm. This could be their best push yet.
Oh, they've actually decided to change tack. They get aggressive, but that is a quick primal rage from a Ting, seeing the opportunity to split these members of the team apart. And now it is divide and conquer. New Paradigm, that sound barrier is not going to do much for them. They were just all too isolated. It was not going to be a winnable fight, unfortunately, in Hong Kong Attitude. Again, great use of what limited tools they had.
Yeah, and for Buxa, they're using the sound barrier. He does get one out of CQB, so it's kind of neutralized there in terms of both support ultimates. And for New Paradigm, finally, we do see the Shadow available. Frost died on 91% in the previous push. This time around, all they got to wait for is a team to use the bubble, break the bubble, then it should be a free Shatter.
If Perfect is able to land this, which he is, now the self-destruct laid in on top of it. If they can get even just one, they get Tito out of the mech and they finish off Baxter. They didn't quite get the big rack of kills they wanted out of the self-destruct, but they're still cleaning up. And again, New Paradigm are just waiting to use their own grab self-destruct combo, or at least an Earth Shatter, something. They've only got 45 seconds.
And now we're about the time where New Paradigm they can't actually possibly get the same amount of time back as Hong Kong Attitude anymore. By the time they do actually get A, if they do get A, we're going to be in overtime, 4 minutes remaining to get onto B. Whatever happens now, Hong Kong Attitude do have a major advantage going into time back if we even go there. There
is that Transcendence from Mango Jai to counter out the Graviton Surge from Unknown. Oh, there's the Earth Shatter on top of Ting. He does not get back up in time. Did come close. There's the Transcendence in the Graviton Surge to save the team. They lose VK's mech nonetheless. And this is New Paradigm finally with the upper hand as they start to charge the points. Will get pushed out into overtime, but they are now poised to cap.
And you'll finally get to see the Earth Shatter come through. That's the ultimate we've been waiting for about 3 pushes in a row. And the one previous to this, the grab from Perfect, was just a little bit too good. Set up by VK as well for the self-destruct combo. And for New Paradigm, finally, when they get through what they push, there's no grab on the other side to use, and then you land the Shatter, take a team down. Make sure he can't use the Primal Rage because he's gone. That's on New Paradigm. Get the cap onto A. And now there's 3 minutes and 45 remaining onto B. But like I said earlier, they can't match time to anchor to Hong Kong Attitude.
Just looking to move fast here as New Paradigm. They're right into Perfect's grab. Ref moves to counter with the Transcendence. Now let's see if anybody gets picked out in among all this chaos. Does Hong Kong Attitude still have tools to burn here? Indeed, they do choose to burn them. VK self-destruct and Ting's Primal Rage.
Look at that movement.
And it finally starts to pay off as they've just trapped New Paradigm in this room with no more defensive tools, nothing else to keep them alive in that situation. Ref did try to sneak a third, will not get away with it. That's the first defense successful for Hong Kong Attitude.
Absolutely clean as well. You could see the Graviton positioning by Perfect at the bottom of the stairs, locks everybody into place. Meanwhile, VK flies around to the back to make sure no one can escape from the other side. Primal Rage used by a Ting to the front line, knocking everyone aside as New Paradigm want to fall back through up the stairs. A Ting just jumps through the other side, knocks everyone away again, collects a bunch of kills. And for Hong Kong Attitude, massive cleanup. New Paradigm had nowhere to go.
And that's the thing, it does take a bit of time, but that's the thing, you've got time on your side with that setup. Nice rotation from New Paradigm. They don't want to run headlong into Hong Kong Attitude just yet.
They have this Earth Shadow advantage. In fact, they have a Graviton advantage as well, so this could be potential to get some really good progress onto this B cap.
Graviton advantage about to be mitigated.
Oh,
nice displacement makes it very hard for any of those combos to come out, and they split up the teams, so Hong Kong Attitude pounce. They commit a grab in here to counter out Unknown's own.
There's a Shadow by Frost.
Goes down. That's the connection that they need. This is a good opening for New Paradigm. Now, Hong Kong Attitude do have enough time
this could be
to
it.
fully reset. Tito did lose the mech, but with that progress already ticking up so fast, VK's got to stall the point alone. Oh, nice charge by a Ting. Might have just rescued it, and Mango Jai comes in with a Transcendence in the nick of time to save a Ting. Earthshatter finds Frost, and they've stabilized. They've done it. Just barely having enough time to wait for those respawns, thanks to VK stalling the point at the 11th hour, and now just under 2 minutes, they did not quite get that last third.
And Frost nearly gave that cap away. Frost really came back from the behind. I mean, you saw him get booped off into this low ground section. He came up from the back. They forgot about him entirely. Jumps and Earth Shadows from behind, connects onto everybody. Hong Kong Attitude get themselves basically wiped, and then New Paradigm set themselves up to get 2 ticks, maybe even 3, but a Ting saves the day, gets a Transcendence out of Mango Jai as well. Ref gets down, no Transcendence from him, and now in a precarious spot for New Paradigm, about 1 minute remaining. And the Graviton Surge is what I'm really looking at.
They do still have an ultimate advantage. That's the saving grace here. The Graviton Surge and the fact that Mango Jai does not have a Transcendence. In fact, Hong Kong Attitude have nothing, nor are they particularly close to anything. If New Paradigm get a quick connection and a quick fight win, they can still do this. There it is. And there's going to be the self-destruct to get the shield out of the way. Doesn't even kill anyone because everyone's already dead, and that's what they needed. Hong Kong Attitude just fallen over like dominoes, lined up, racked down, dropped. And this should be the full strike from New Paradigm. It's trickling onto the point now. A Ting on the Wrecking Ball. That's a decent Earth Shadow. Going to follow up on Perfect. Slightly delayed charge, but all's well that ends well. They find Shylin on the Doomfist, and these stall tools will not pay off for Hong Kong Attitude. This time they will not have the time to get the full reset, and New Paradigm will take us to a time bank.
And Ref even held on to the Transcendence, used it in there in celebratory fashion. And that's exactly the kind of plays that we need to see out of New Paradigm here. Puts themselves up to 1 minute for the time bank, and Hong Kong Attitude at 4:58. Now, we've been here before on Hollywood, and back then we said it shouldn't be a case here for New Paradigm to be able to win. They were able to pull out on Hollywood, but that was Hollywood. Now onto Hanamura. I'm thinking if you're Hong Kong Attitude, you've learned your lesson there. You know what you should be doing now on this map, and this is a much bigger time bank difference than we saw before. Nearly 5 times compared to the 3 times that was on Hollywood.
And when you consider, again, how long it took to cap point A, if Hong Kong Attitude can get a repeat performance on that defense, they can't just burn away this minute on that alone, and we could see New Paradigm not even capping out. Then you've got nearly 5 minutes, which is more time than you get in the initial phase just to cap A.
And by the way, as a reminder, we only got to the time bank because Frost Earthshatter set up that first 2 ticks, and then the last push came through to get the final tick. If that had not been 2 ticks capped out, and it had to be full 3 ticks, Hong Kong Attitude probably could have fully held that. But now we're here, now we're in the present day. In the present day, we're playing into time bank for the 2nd time in this series. And I think that speaks volumes so far as to how close it actually is.
That's the reality. Doesn't matter who we say is favored or who you maybe feel on paper. comes in with the upper hand. At the end of the day, it's what actually happens in the game that counts. And what's happened so far is these teams are tied, and for the second time in Time Bank, New Paradigm on this initial attack, getting a little bit hurt as they make the rotation. They will lose ref. They're going to reset. They've got to reset quickly here, and they know it, but they're unsure of how to break out of this one. They're actually deciding to stay settled on the point, but this is just wasting their own time. Frost is not down. It's Ein instead will be the next casualty. Now finally Frost goes, as it was Buxa solo healing for the longest time there. 20 seconds left, and Unknown has only just died.
And this is the problem, because Ref went down so early, the difference in healing was all in Hong Kong Attitude's favor. Only 2 supports available for New Paradigm. The health bar is just going down so slowly, and then they eventually die. 7 seconds now.
Baxter was just trying to dive for the point, because what else can you do? Doesn't get there in time, and no one else is close enough to touch it. So, full A hold is what we said Hong Kong Attitude needed to do. Now, just under 5 minutes, 4:58 is all they need to get is a third.
And this is more time than most teams usually get. You start with 4 minutes to attack A, Hong Kong Attitude get 4:58. Also, this kind of defense here for Hong Kong Attitude, based on the 1 minute available for New Paradigm, this is the kind of expected result you'd usually see when teams only have 1 minute to attack, is they basically don't get anything. Maybe they get a couple of ticks at best, but New Paradigm don't even get that one, so now it has to be a perfect defense. For the entirety of what is basically 5 minutes, you cannot allow Hong Kong Attitude to get even one tick. And if you're Hong Kong Attitude right now, you can play the long game if you like. If it's very close, you can play up until the last minute, the last few seconds, but as long as you have the setup available, as long as you have the ultimates at win conditions when it counts, you'll cap, you'll win.
New Paradigm really have their work cut out for them here, to say the very least. Just feeling like a matter of time. When will Hong Kong Attitude get their third? When will they take it to match point? Or will we tie it? In which case, well, it goes down to the last map.
To put it in perspective, if Hollywood Time Bank was a miracle for New Paradigm, this is like, you need 5 times the miracles here to really pull something off.
You need a full advent calendar of miracles. Now just getting aggressive. Again, good catch in the rotation. Mango Jai does go down, and that does mean
Ting might be
eventually the damage will just become insurmountable. There's the close off on a Ting, and the rest of Hong Kong Attitude is in a tight spot. They've just got to take a dive, those who can. The rest will end up just feeding ult charge to New Paradigm.
And you'll expect everybody on Hong Kong Attitude now to just jump off the map.
There it goes.
Unfortunately, what this does mean for New Paradigm is, unlike Hong Kong Attitude's own defense, where they cleaned up everybody, New Paradigm have very minimal ult charge. So actually Hong Kong Attitude are only slightly behind instead of being significantly behind. Changing Perfect onto McCree as well. Play the Super McCree again. You know it's been working. You know you're good at it. You know Perfect is an insane aimer. This is exactly how you can still push it.
Just good at clicking heads, that boy. Is Hong Kong Attitude just going to take their time here? They are paying good respect to the fact that New Paradigm do have a little bit more ult charge in pocket. Not enough to have any ultimates up, but enough to be close.
And for all intents and purposes, this is a pretty even fight. As I say that both of the Brigaders go down as well, so technically still even.
Tato, though, losing the mech. Suddenly it's a little bit more favored Hong Kong Attitude. VK, though, might just lose his own mech here. And then we're just once again back into even Stevens territory. No, he didn't lose it. That is so tight. Finally, it goes down to Frost, but honestly, the extra time it took to do that has really hurt New Paradigm. They've lost Ref, and now Baxter. Great flashbang headshot onto Frost to close that one out, and the grab does finish off Perfect and Co. Tato has maybe just rescued this one, did lose his life for it. A Ting is still on this point, though. He's still in this fight, looking to corner trap Ainz. Just needs to get the last bit of damage, going so aggressive.
Do it.
Finally gets it. He's alone on this one, though, and Hong Kong Attitude spawn is closer.
I actually think Ting might have misplayed that. If he just stayed on there and bashed Ainz off, maybe he caps out, but right now New Paradigm's still stuck in a hard place.
Oh dear, Transcendence bought time, but Frost dying on his way to the point means that they are just coming into this with a numbers disadvantage no matter how you slice it. Another great flashbang headshot out of Perfect onto a tank player here. Now it's just Baxter trying to skate around the wall, stall for the team, but it is not going to pay off. And using just about half of their total time, Hong Kong Attitude take it. And that just goes to show how much of a lead they had coming into the time bank.
And this is exactly why you play Perfect on the McCree and you play Super McCree comp in the first place. You know how much of a playmaker he is, and this is why it's exciting to still see DPS players and DPS heroes pick every now and then. It's a little bit rare now, but you appreciate it when it does come around. And so when you do see the McCree come through, he gets the kill. The one kill I want to highlight is actually the one onto Ref. It's not one of the crazy headshot flicks that he does. It's a very unceremonial kill. But what it does do is Mango Jai uses Transcendence to give his team an advantage. And then you expect Ref, okay, he's on 91%. He's going to get it, and then they'll swing it back around. Because he goes down specifically to Perfect at exactly that moment, there's no counter Transcendence play. There's nothing coming through from Ref, and suddenly things fall apart very quickly for New Paradigm.
Let's get real, though. The reality for New Paradigm was that they had a near impossible task ahead of them. And when you consider how incredibly well Hollywood went for them when they were in a similarly difficult situation, look, lightning just didn't strike twice here. And unlike Hollywood, where it was achievable, this one felt like technically achievable, but not realistically achievable, whereas Hollywood was just a bit of an uphill battle. And when it all comes down to it, what I've now got to lean towards is when we talked about Hollywood, we felt that, okay, when all was said and done, it was actually the point A cap that was an anomaly. But now looking at how Hanamura played out, actually with how long the point A cap took in the initial phase and the point B cap had some growing pains for the side of New Paradigm, then didn't cap out the point A in the overtime at all. Actually assaulting those static points may just be a bit of a weak point for this team, and in this case, it was enough of a one for Hong Kong attitude to take a win. And
the big difference there is you don't have the massive compositional advantage that New Paradigm had on Hollywood A in the overtime, where, again, they've read that the Goats defense was going to come out, so they played Sombra and Fire to totally counter that one out. On Hanamura attack onto A, you're not really going to run a Fire there. There's not really the same kind of counter Goats, so Hong Kong attitude feel a lot more safe just playing the Goats defense there, knowing that they can just meet them head on, play for play, and win that one out. Going to Route 66 now with Hong Kong attitude sitting in pole position, ready to take this into a 3-in-1. Can New Paradigm bring it back through? Because Hanamura was unfortunately close in the sense that you would consider both teams reaching the time bank to be close, but not so close considering what ended up happening in the time bank.
Here's the only thing I do have to consider, though. I would argue that on Hollywood points B and C, both teams were quite comparable. It was the point A that was the big difference maker in the initial phase. And then it was actually the point B defense that was the difference maker in the time bank in favor of New Paradigm. When we consider that, I feel like Route 66 is still a very winnable affair for New Paradigm, purely because that defense seemed just ever so slightly cleaner than Hong Kong attitudes, at least with regard to the time bank. It may be a bit of a situation, different situation, but the main thing is once you remove that static point cap from the start of Hybrid, I think this is actually a pretty even playing field between these two teams.
Well, I think what we've seen so far is both of the maps that have time banks available have gone to the time bank now, heading into Route 66. This one, I think, is very likely that both teams could just finish up the attack again. We could see this one go back into time bank. I think the teams are closely matched to get there. The bigger issue I have is once we do get there, assuming we do, who's coming out on top? Because so far, Hong Kong attitude, except for the anomaly, which we can say Hollywood was, Hong Kong attitude are by and far looking like the better time bank team if we get there.
That's the thing. The reality is, I mean, they do just look, even outside of time bank, they are looking a lot like the better team.
Even the timing to get to time bank, right?
But, I mean, Hollywood did still happen, and
you can't discount that one.
Exactly, and Route 66 isn't won until it is won.
And Hong Kong attitude playing Perfect back onto this McCree. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's already on 47% ult. Look at everyone else so far.
Ref nearly took a shot too many. Ooh, barely gets out of the way of that.
Saved by the geometry.
Yeah.
60% and counting. It's just climbing up so fast.
They're just fishing for a pick. That being said, the payload has had some decent movement, so now New Paradigm can go for a dive, but counter dive finds back, so Frost didn't really get much on the front side, didn't really put much pressure onto Perfect. And now New Paradigm just taking a lot. Frost finally going down there. They're just going to have to give the...
Yep, and it's still just farming a bit of extra damage towards the end there. Mango Joe takes down his counterpart. We're at the sort of stage now where a bunch of ults are starting to come online. Hong Kong attitude, none so far for New Paradigm. Cart has finally stopped. A minute 15 off the clock as well. And we're setting up 2 high ground positions here. One for the tanks and one for Perfect.
Perfect, you've got to say. He likes being able to be this far back. He likes that New Paradigm have to get all the way past those other tanks just to get onto him. But nice bypass by New Paradigm. Here comes the collapse from the other tanks as Perfect has had to pull a long, long way back. He's about to get found out on the wrap around, I think. Yeah, there it is. Unknown finds him. Now New Paradigm look to loop back in with a numbers advantage. You see them isolating a Ting on the payload. Has to pop the Primal Rage, but by trading back with Unknown, Hong Kong Attitude can now regroup.
And this just means Hong Kong Attitude have to spend more ults here while Perfect gets back. They can't rely on his damage anymore. You're likely to see some support ultimates from Hong Kong Attitude as well.
Double self-destruct, neither finds anything. Little bit more movement on the cart though. This has just been one big long scrap now. Deadeye to come out. Oh, nice bump back by Frost. Stops Perfect from getting any of that connection. Now Perfect is in trouble here as Ein goes down. Perfect will follow Shylin to the grave, and New Paradigm, they have maintained momentum. They've actually kept this point in Hong Kong Attitude a bit late on the retreat. Excellent pressure by Frost as well to get Perfect down. You'll notice that Shylin actually got taken down by his counterpart, Ein. Because there's no Brigadier there to babysit the McCree, Perfect had no one to stop Frost from just charging directly at him. New Paradigm finding the correct targeting, finding the correct picks, and then being able to cap that point out, still with time remaining to get beat. And you got to say, very late retreat from Hong Kong Attitude. They were kind of in that fight, in the thick of it, and they'd very much committed, but weren't really playing for the payload itself. Bit of a small slip up. But it's not too costly.
Now to come through from Unknown. Perfect recently swapped into Zarya. Is not going to be able to compete with that, not yet. Anyway, Tito with the self-destruct as well. That's got to be the key combo for New Paradigm. Look at that cart positioning, already moving underneath that bridge section.
There it goes. They send the self-destruct up, but it goes over the top. It does not connect with anyone. Slightly misaimed there. And now Hong Kong Attitude in with a chance here. That being said, the sound barrier makes it almost impossible for them to kill New Paradigm members. And meanwhile, all the members of Hong Kong Attitude taking a lot of hurt as they start to drop. New Paradigm are going to maintain momentum.
And this is exactly, for New Paradigm, the kind of advantage they get to play with. They win that fight now, still with a lot of members. In fact, all 6 members remaining, which now lets them set up onto high ground, stop Hong Kong Attitude from coming back in. Perfect still doesn't quite have a grab yet. Maybe a little bit unrealistic to expect them to charge it all up in one fight. But for New Paradigm, they'll take that, and that means they get a cap.
Oh, maybe not quite. Hong Kong Attitude have decided they want to take this, and they've got the ultimates to back it up. Sound barrier early to make sure that the people who are in the fight can stay in the fight as they isolate Frost and force a Primal Rage from him. It's a bit of an awkward Graviton Surge, though. You would have liked that on more members, or at least killable members. So now they're just battling it out on the payload itself. Unknown close to a Graviton Surge. They're not going to be able to finish him off thanks to Ref's Transcendence, as both teams just slugging it out, and Shylin finding to go down here as New Paradigm starting to take the lead in this one, just out-damaging Hong Kong Attitude. Primal Rage from a Ting. They've decided they really want to burn down the clock here. They do get the grab out of Unknown, but this will be a cap still for New Paradigm.
It will be, but getting the grab is important because this stops New Paradigm from just double capping onto C now. There's not going to be as big of a snowball coming through. The key ultimates that New Paradigm had to spend were Transcendence from Ref and the Graviton Surge from Unknown. You'll trade the Primal Rage to get that, especially if a Ting is going to go into the Reinhardt instead. Now this is a defendable C point for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, Ting hot swap onto the Reinhardt there. Frost, he stays on the Winston because he's closer to that Primal Rage. Self-destruct forward from Tato, gives space. Hong Kong Attitude just scattered to the 4 winds, and now they come back in, find Frost out, who was very close to a Primal Rage. And will probably decide to stick on the pick for exactly that reason, but there's a point where you actually want to need to match Reinhardt.
A really cheap wins there from Hong Kong Attitude as well. Just spent the Transcendence from Mango Giant. That's everything you need. Giving a team to get this Earthshatter up soon, and Perfect to secure this Graviton Surge, which is going to be the win condition available, especially if he can combo that up with VK self-destruct.
New Paradigm have some very dangerous tools available. Oh dear, grab eaten by VK. That is not the start that New Paradigm wanted. They decided to commit a Primal Rage here, and all these defensive tools as well to try and absorb the Graviton Surge. They still lose Tito's mech, but they kill a Ting. This is just very messy, but New Paradigm have kind of weathered the worst of it. Ref actually finds out Mango Giant in the midst of all that chaos. New Paradigm now looking in a very nice spot as they force Perfect back. Unknown
That
gets a second grab, and you're damn right it connects. CQB goes down, and suddenly the payload is careening towards the terminus, and Hong Kong Attitude have yet to regroup.
And the best part is, they got the sound barrier out of CQB, which only ended up on 4 members, didn't save Mango Jai, and that was just the defensive sound barrier to try and back out. They didn't get anything done with it. New Paradigm continue to push.
Perfect needs to land this grab. He's been kind of sitting on it for a little while now. Frost gets picked early though, so that's a good start for Hong Kong Attitude. They may actually just want to take a low economy fight here, try and chase down some members, charge up maybe their Earth Shatter, and then bank those ultimates later in the fight, or cash them out rather.
We're at 1 minute 10 now, so for Hong Kong Attitude, just win a couple more fights and it will be the defense secured. And for New Paradigm, 2 fights to try and just charge a few more ultimates, find a win condition there, maybe outplay the grab one Perfect. It's not going to be a combo with a self-destruct, at least not this time around. And he's spotted out.
I mean, geez, Unknown's nearly about to have another grab of his own anyway. Unless Perfect gets a big kahuna here, they're going to be in a difficult situation. Commits it. They do get a couple there. Self-destruct thrown in. They do get at least Tito with the self-destruct. So it has paid off, but they had to commit really everything they had.
Now for New Paradigm, they just have to try and get out without taking too many losses. Unknown has to try and survive as well.
Right.
He's the one that you can't have go down here because you don't want to be waiting any longer. With about 25 seconds remaining, I think they might have to go 5 versus 6 if they're unlucky, because 20 seconds still, ref, is a while away. Just respawning now.
Will rejoin the team at 15 seconds. It means they just kind of have to run for it. And there are going to be those 2 defensive ultimates from Hong Kong Attitude to deal with this Graviton Surge self-destruct combo. Could still land anyway. Oh no! Excellent from BK to catch a second one out of Unknown. That's 2 of the last 3. Shylin does go down to the self-destruct nonetheless, but Hong Kong Attitude not in a bad spot now with these defensive tools running on out. They find Frost on the front side and a big Earth Shatter from a Ting. Instant follow-up, and that's going to be the closeout with the overtime ticking away. New Paradigm will not quite cap this one out.
Well, thanks, Ben Sandman Green. And for Buxer there, just getting the solo sound barrier on himself, unfortunately. That's one of the worst feelings you can have as a Lucio player.
I'll enjoy this beat. It's like you were alone
just for me.
At a music festival.
You're playing to a crowd of no one.
DJ's just like, are you ready? And you're like, yes, I am. Because I'm the only one.
Not a bad effort. You can see the final destination for the cart there is still about halfway through C. Considering how slow some of the... I want to say, actually it wasn't super slow. A had a couple of stop-ups. B was largely a New Paradigm with the, maybe 1 or 2 slowdowns in the middle there, but you never felt like New Paradigm was seriously stopped. So you had to wait till C to really see the unfortunate incompletion of the map. And it will actually now be the first time we see an incompletion in this series, because on both Hollywood and Hanamura, teams went to time bank this time around. Not going to happen.
Oh well. There are worse things. This is where I do expect Hong Kong Attitude to just edge this one out, purely because it was not quite closing out the defense on any of the points of Hollywood that cost them that one in the end. And their offense has been consistently good, not just on Hollywood, but also on Hanamura. Like, it's just a reliable part of this team.
New Paradigm as well. Their defense has been no slouch. You can consider that. I mean, on one part, you do have to consider that Hong Kong Attitude have had decent time banks, but they haven't been complete rolls or anything like that. I think Hollywood was definitely more comparable. Hanamura, you'll say, is something you'd like to forget if you're New Paradigm defending. Something they'll have to change now going into Route 66, because it's still very winnable, but they need to have a good defense set up on A and B to make sure C is the winning position for them.
Didn't scout out the goats, but it's fine. You know they're playing it. It is going to be mirrored with.
I could guess. I mean,
yeah. I'll take a punt on that one. Now the opening skirmish around the payload. New Paradigm gonna have to cede some ground here, taking a bit too much damage.
You can see the trade and damage is so bad for New Paradigm. Frost is still below half HP right now. He's probably going to go down.
Separated. Perfect, able to finish that one off. Unknown is still leading in the ult charge, though. So that's going to be the saving grace for New Paradigm here later on down the line.
And the other silver lining is Frost was the only one to go down because he was the only one really caught out of position. That means New Paradigm don't lose anybody else, just have to wait for one member, can regroup, and still defend A in this final section.
There we go, coming around the other side. And then one more brawl on the cart. Just to try and slow Hong Kong Attitude up. They finally going to be able to commit it. Might not even need it. They've actually found Shaolin. No, they do recognize we need to commit this ultimate if we want to guarantee the one. They at least get the Primal Rage out of a ting, but now the fight starts to slip a bit back the way of Hong Kong Attitude. Actually, Mango Jai losing his life after the Transcendence had run out, and Perfect a bit too low to commit a grab, does go down. Now it's VK turning for the hills and running, but will not get home. As on the other side of that one, Tito remix, and actually Hong Kong Attitude get rebuffed.
Great defense discipline there. Great just patience, waiting for Unknown, waiting for Frost to regroup as well. Finding the right place to reapproach that cart and knowing that they have the grab advantage makes such a big difference when Unknown is so far ahead of Perfect. One of the few times he's been very far ahead of Perfect.
Now New Paradigm have a decent run of ultimates just to keep up this defense. They've opted into a Reinhardt now, Hong Kong Attitude. Just angling around for payload.
Double defense ults from New Paradigm is going to be important because you expect Perfect to grab here.
And there it is. Self-destruct goes sky high as well, and there's the sound barrier. Ref still gets caught, and that's the second defensive ultimate off the table. Teto's self-destruct trades back on a ting. That is a very big pick, though. Maybe enough to counter out the fact that Ref went down. Ein gets picked, though, so still not out of the woods just yet. And Hong Kong Attitude at the closer respawn as Tito loses his mech and goes down. It's just Frost alone as the Primal Rage runs out. Now Unknown. He's turned tail. It's not turned and run far enough, unfortunately. Now Pixie here just trying to stall out for a little bit longer. Will give his life for a few more seconds off the clock, but Hong Kong Attitude back in control, will cafe.
Small micro area there. I think if Ref actually used the Transcendence, first of all, he would have survived the self-destruct, but also he should have known if the self-destruct actually lands on him, even with the 750 HP bonus from the sound barrier, you don't survive. It's a 200 HP Zenyatta, so I just don't think there's a world there where he doesn't use the Transcendence. And now New Paradigm, after losing Frost as well, have to try and regroup yet again. This is all resulting in a lot of free push for Hong Kong Attitude. Free push that they're not having to use resources to obtain, which means they still have the grab, they still have the Transcendence, they still have a rally.
Frost has made the swap into the Reinhardt, though. He does need to match a ting. He is a bit behind the 8 ball in terms of that ultimate charge, though, and wrap around from New Paradigm. Both teams just kind of trading places.
Grab.
Unknown does go down. Self-destruct finds Frost as well, so it's counted. That's what matters here for Hong Kong Attitude. They've made the ultimates work for them. They keep momentum on their side.
Yeah, it's a slow team wipe, but it counts. That one checks out, and for New Paradigm as well, just having Frost shield bashed out, secured by the kill, the self-destruct from VK as well. Earthshatter is still available for Hong Kong Attitude. The one disappointing thing is, because they don't have Winston, they can't contest this high ground well enough, but they know as soon as New Paradigm come to the low ground, if they can land the Shadow, if they can just win this brawl, they will cap.
Unknown coming up on a grab, though, has got to be the tool to leverage. That's the Earthshatter whiff. Ting takes a chunk of pain for it. Transcendence from Mango very early. Now Unknown can just wait that one out, then commit his grab. There it goes. And Mango Jai, unfortunately, too early on that one. Ref committing his Transcendence just in case. Trying anything funky. And that's going to be a gong coming out in just a few seconds. Oh, not quite. VK and CQB going down a bit late. CQB stays alive.
And this is now Ref where he decides to use the Transcendence, doesn't want to take any chances. Probably a 50-50 onto that one, but New Paradigm just happy to finally have control back of the cart. At about 1 minute 35-ish when VK does respawn. We'll also get taxied by CQB. You'll also be in the position where Hong Kong Attitude are at risk of potentially not finishing the whole map on time anymore. Even if they do cap B, they'll have very limited time to go into C.
Now making their movement. Looking to get up into this high ground. Need to brawl their way back onto the cart here. They have forced New Paradigm back just a little ways. Coming up on some big ultimates. Hong Kong Attitude just want to have the fight last long enough for that. Earthshatter self-destruct. It only gets Mango Jai. It is recoverable, but not with Shailin going down. And that's so unfortunate because Perfect committed a grab. Hold up a second. VK turns that one back around with a 2-man self-destruct. Suddenly it's New Paradigm losing that one out. Perfect. I thought he made a mistake by committing the grab, but it paid off.
Wow, Hong Kong Attitude, they know how to stay into this one, and this is a very important fight to win because now they get to finish B with a little bit of time remaining. The 1 minute 30 extra they get from capping now might give them the actual opportunity to complete this. We might not see a map 5 here. Hong Kong Attitude have the ability to finish.
It's certainly possible, but it is equally possible that New Paradigm defend. And when you consider how quickly Unknown charges these ultimates, Hong Kong Attitude do still have a lot they need to fight through to make this one work. Earth Shatter out of a team. It only got the one, but it was enough. Now the grab out from Unknown. They have not got any follow-up in it as Perfect continues cleaning up kills and goes to charge his own grab.
I'm still a little bit surprised Buxer and Ref decided not to ult there. They probably would have had the opportunity to save the members on their backs and maintain the 6v6. Now they're going to have to ult at a very late position. If they lose this fight, it's all over. Hong Kong Attitude cap, and there's definitely enough time. Perfect with a grab as well. This is exactly the position Hong Kong Attitude want to be in.
And this is so hard to defend from. They need to keep on the payload. A team does go down early though, and the Earth Shatter is huge.
Where's the grab?
There to block it. The grab from Perfect got eaten as well. It just gets worse and worse for Hong Kong Attitude. This is a fight that they're going to have to cop a loss on. Unfortunately, New Paradigm go very far forward. They need to make sure that this cap doesn't get snuck out.
Now this is a series deserving of being potentially called a top of the table clash. And for New Paradigm looking towards that next Graviton Surge, Bucks and Ref still have support ultimates, which means they can still defend. And CQB is the only one about to match on the sound barrier, but time is running out, less than 45 seconds.
Suddenly Hong Kong Attitude on the cusp of winning are in a very difficult situation. Unknown so close to that grab. BK's got his work cut out.
He knows.
There it is, the commitment. The self-destruct goes forward. They are going to get a bit of a block on it, but a ting does go down to the backside of that one. 25 seconds remaining. Hong Kong Attitude losing some members very late here.
It's actually smart by VK because he hides here. As long as he doesn't get spotted. Oh, he does. This could be bad. If he gets demeked, it could be really awful.
Oh, he ate one last right click and he's forced to self-destruct just to preserve the mech. But they fight back, Sir Nines. What happened? New Paradigm overextended. Now Hong Kong Attitude come back in with 3 kills on their side.
Is this it?
Despite the late loss of VK, he at least remeked. He's still in it. Tato goes out of the mech. New Paradigm, they clutch, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here as Hong Kong Attitude capitalized on the overextension, and it was so clever. VK actually baited them into following him rather than taking a 6 versus 5, and Hong Kong Attitude, an absolutely brilliant play at the end there to get it over the line. They will close out the series 3-1. They are our best team in Group B.
And they just managed to sneak that one through. I mean, New Paradigm could have also chosen to just stay as 6, that everyone go after VK or everyone go take the team fight. They didn't have to split their team. And right when it really mattered for them, they decided on the wrong call. And sometimes that happens. But right now, when this happens, you lose the map. And that's the unfortunate thing. Now is not where you want to see that happen for New Paradigm. They were so close to pushing this to a map 5. And I think throughout the series, I mean, there's just positions where you think, man, they were so close, and only one time when you say that, they actually win, and that's on Hollywood. Deserved victory. But Route 66, I think, was well within their grasp, and Nepal was well within their sights.
I mean, it's just tough. It's tough break, right? And it's something we've seen so many times. It's teams setting up in that winnable position, and then not quite getting the follow-through. And it's unfortunate that here it was New Paradigm, because they'd actually done the exact opposite for most of the night so far. But when it was going to matter the most, it didn't happen. And off the back of that, Hong Kong Attitude get that win. And it was just so clever. You'd think VK needed to stay where he was to collapse. But actually, they read New Paradigm are posturing forward. Let's try this. I'm going
to play
with the self-destruct.
Devil's advocate by saying, like, it was as based on the result. But at the same time, I think New Paradigm just completely misplayed that situation, because
I would agree.
Like I said, that it was a conscious decision. They could have chosen to either not follow him, or they could have chosen to all follow him. Whichever one of those decisions would have been fine as long as they stay as 6. But because they chose to do the worst possible thing, which is split their team, allowing Hong Kong Attitude to then press the go button, look, this could have been when you see the initial DMAC, you're thinking in your minds, well, this is fine, because now it's a 6v5. You don't expect New Paradigm to just run at Hong Kong Attitude like that. So that's the difference here, because they shouldn't have run at Hong Kong Attitude. They should have kept the DMAC, played the 6v5. That's their map when we go to Nepal. That's the expectation. So while on one hand I agree, it's like, well, the result of which seems quite clever, I think the reality and the context of it is, I think New Paradigm just seriously misplayed it. I
mean, VK was always quite likely going to be able to preserve the mech thanks to the self-destruct.
That's a waste of self-destruct. You lose something.
It is a bit of a waste, exactly. And that's the thing. That's still a something when you consider that New Paradigm already were looking good in terms of ultimates for that last fight, and didn't need to be that far forward either. They could have actually afforded to be further back, even just Even just going, okay, there may be someone unaccounted for back on the payload. Let's sit further back so that we're not completely separated out, so that we don't have to turn tail and run if something goes horribly wrong. Just play it that little bit safer. And I think a lot of teams, especially with GOATs being so prevalent, you get into this mentality because it's the right thing to do in so many situations that if we've won a fight and we've got ultimates up on GOATs, we need to get close to their spawn and force them to fight a long way. You don't always have to do it, and it's one of the few times I think New Paradigm kind of slipped on keeping their sights on the win conditions specifically and how to execute it.
I mean, even in terms of communication, you have a scenario where there was a bit of time. It's not like, you know, they see VK and then he instantly goes, they see him, they chase him, then he goes down, and then Mangojai gets the double assisted by a bunch of teammates. That happens over, like, that was like 5, 6, or 7 seconds it happened over.
A lot of right
Within
clicks
that time,
to finish off the
there
match.
was a lot of time for them to say, don't chase, or let's group up, or let's take the big team fight, because the other thing to consider is VK actually ran off, which means if they group up and take the 6v5, VK's not there anyway, he's coming in late, so there's a bunch of ways inside that about 6-second window where they can just, as a team, calm down and make one consolidated call and not do 2 different things. But I mean, that's unfortunately just how the cookie crumbles for this team, and we do also have to consider, if we did go to Nepal, I was going to favor Hong Kong Attitude to take Nepal based on how Li Jiang went. So maybe we get there and it doesn't matter, Hong Kong Attitude win anyway, but you'd like to see this as basically a repeat of Nova versus Talon from last week, which is potentially looking like it could have been a top-of-the-table clash. Maybe Xavier versus Talon could tell a different story, but that was a 3-2. This one could have been a 3-2. I think New Paradigm had the capability to push it to a 3-2. Which 3-2 it swung over towards? Maybe it's Hong Kong Attitude, but at that point, they've proven they can take Hong Kong Attitude to map 5, and that's a very important feat in and of itself.
Inevitably, though, it was, of course, still close. And Hong Kong Attitude will be happy, as much as they could have probably still won it if it went to Nepal. They'll be happier to have not had to go there. For them, taking the 3-1, getting that extra +1 on the board.